One story I learned is that shortly after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. military was really worried that the Japanese were going to come and do it again, and that when they did, they would invade and occupy the Hawaiian Islands. And they had done that in the Philippines and Hong Kong. And in those places where they had invaded and occupied, one of the first things they did was they rounded up all of the hard cash and they confiscated it and they replaced it with these Japanese military yen,
Oh shit.
um,
I didn't know that.
which, which were valueless then and valueless more so after the war. And then they would take that cash and to places, neutral places like particularly Macau, where they could trade it for war material that they couldn't otherwise buy because of sanctions. And so the U.S. was really worried that was going to happen in Hawaii, and that the Japanese would end up with millions and millions of dollars of U.S. currency and take it to Macau and buy oil and whatnot. And so they came up with this plan, which is basically like marked money in a bank heist, in which they required everybody in Hawaii to come down to a military processing center and hand over all of their cash. And in return, they got 1934 bills that they had pulled out of the treasury in San Francisco, and they had stamped them on both sides with the word Hawaii. Um, and and so that was the only legal tender in Hawaii from like about probably early 1942 to the end of the war. And
Wow.
you could take that back to the mainland with you and spend it there, but you couldn't bring money from the mainland to Hawaii and spend it here because it wasn't marked. And that way, if the Japanese invaded and they got all the marked money, the U.S. Treasury could tell all banks in the world to dishonor it because the Treasury would dishonor it, so that it would be worthless.